Thank you. I'll keep my extra. Let's go. Thank you.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Rapier is the worst weapon class in the game right now. It has a terrible base damage, bad posture damage, and is literally just a worse version of Spear. But I really love the anims on Rapier, especially going to Swordfish with the critical and stuff. So I decided to make a build that would maximize the damage on my golden Swordfish and make it actually usable, because I feel like this weapon just would not be usable if I couldn't do any damage on it. And I ended up making a build that's viable in ganks and in ones, so I'm gonna be showing you guys how I did that. The first and easiest buff I got was Ardor. Since I decided to go Soulbreaker on this build, it kind of just came in as like a little extra thing that I got to do with this build, because if on any other build I would have gone Rhythm, because that is just like the most meta thing for ganks. But because I went Soulbreaker, I'm able to get Rhythm and Ardor, and my Ardor is actually buffed with Soulbreaker, making me do 5% damage instead of 2.5%. So that was really helpful when making this build, and just gives me like a little damage buff that is just kind of on the side that I didn't really have to go and get extra. One of my bigger damage buffs on this build is Grim. Grim is really useful because when you have the black bubbles on your opponent, you do 25% more damage, which is really helpful, especially because on this build I end up landing a lot more M1s than I normally would, because I'm on light weapon and a lot of people just do not know how to parry the Rapier M1s. So I find myself proccing these bubbles like very often, and if I land a crit with these bubbles, it just does a lot more damage, and it's really helpful when damage maxing my build. Now, Charisma is the most important stat on this build, because you get all of your major talents from this, like Manipulator and Unnecessary Theatrics, but with that you also get Cornered Fool at 90 Charisma, and what Cornered Fool does is when you guard break your opponent, it actually taunts them, which applies slow and makes you do more damage towards that opponent. And it's really helpful because even though I don't have any guard breaks on this build, and even though my weapon doesn't do that much posture damage, my mantra Ceaseless Slashes actually does do a lot of posture damage, and I find myself guard breaking my opponents with that mantra very often. So if I end up guard breaking them and getting an extra tick off Ceaseless Slashes, it's very helpful on this build. And now, although this build is damage maxed, I still ended up getting Reinforced Armor, and I'm able to have 530 HP with 50 physical, all while having this damage max build. And I can do this because I went Reinforced Armor, and I also went 6 Vitality and 6 Proficiency. I decided to go not too much Erudition because I used to run Nightbringer on this build, but even when I didn't run Nightbringer, I'm still able to get a lot of ether back through parry trades and M1s, so I don't really find it being an issue for me, but you can always sacrifice some Vitality or Proficiency if you really do need that Erudition. Now for the mantras on this build, most of them don't really matter, but there are two major mantras that you really need, and that's going to be Shade Devour and Sing. You get Shade Devour because every time you proc it, although you lose some of your HP, you get a 25% damage buff while it's active, and it lasts for almost the whole duration of the mantra, so you can literally just keep spamming it over and over. And I'm able to limit how much HP it takes from me by using Darkened Bastion and a Bloodless Gem. Since this is an AoE mantra, your Bloodless Gem almost reaches the Bloodless cap if you're surrounded by a certain amount of people, and Darkened Bastion has a really useful talent that nerfs the amount of self damage that things do to you. So I'm only ending up losing 3% from my Shade Devour, and I can almost instantly heal that all back because it's AoE mantra with Bloodless Gem. And Cult of Personality and Sing are two very useful mantras in talent combo synergy, because when I use Sing, I charm everyone around me. For every person I charm, I get 3% penetration on my weapon, and it caps at 15%, so I'm almost always going to have 15% penetration. I'm going to be going over some of the ways you can improve the damage on this build, because even though I did to the best of my ability get the max damage I could, there is some other ways I could have grinded to get more damage. The first method you could use is getting the Captain Green enchant. Captain Green enchant is insanely rare, but it gives you almost 15% damage buff for having 15,000 notes. And the next way you can also damage max this build is by getting the Shiva Fingers. This one kind of works the same way as the Against All Odds talent, and gives you more damage for every combat tag you have. Now of course, if you guys want this build or any of my other Golden Swordfish builds, it'll be in the description below in my Discord, and don't forget to like and subscribe because I have a lot more crazy builds coming. But yeah, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching.